A beautiful girl sits by a mirror while another prepares her for the upcoming auction. She sheds a tear since becoming a slave for a rich man was not her first career choice. Another makes her way on stage, and the masked men immediately compliment her beauty. The bidding begins at $3 million, but the demand is much higher than expected. In the prep room, the girl begs to make her look ugly, but another tells her that she's a girl, and that a girl should always look her best in any situation. She walks onto the stage, and all marvel at her radiance, as the bidding begins with a 100% participation. She looks around, and wonders how many girls have been brought to tears by the demons before her eyes. Just then, she removes her bonds, and summons a gun, slaying all the ugly demons in the room. The attendant reveals her identity as well, flashing her moves as she slays more demons. The two group up as more guards approach, and the attendant buys some time for the other girl, who casts a powerful fire spell to deal with their foe. Outside, a boy with a sniper locks onto the owner of the establishment, ready to eliminate his target. As he begins to think about his past, the boy reminisces about a life before, when he was known to be the world's finest assassin. Codename Alan Smith. He was the CIA's legendary weapon, doing exactly as he is told in every single mission without fail. His calculations were perfect, and despite all odds, Alan completed his missions with his life intact for 60 years. But his time has run out, claiming that no human can overcome age. He boards a plane, planning to retire in Japan. But for the first time in his life, Alan's calculations were off. He didn't consider that the government would try to eliminate a retired dog, who has been loyal to the bone since he was an infant. He goes into the cockpit and sees that the end is inevitable for him as he accepts his fate. Sinking into an empty void, Alan feels an emotion for the first time in his life, feeling betrayed by the very organization that raised him as an assassin since he came out of his mother's womb. But his thoughts are cut short as he finds himself in front of a majestic woman, who tells him that despite being the world's finest assassin, he allowed himself to be assassinated. She tells him that she's a goddess and that she'll graciously grant him two options for his next life. The first is to be reborn as a nobody with no memory of his past. The second is to be reborn in another world of sword and sorcery, where he will retain his memories of his previous life. He recognizes that she's a cunning goddess, so he asks her who she wants him to kill if he chooses the obviously better of the two options. She tells him that he's a smart cookie and tells him straight away that she wants him to kill the hero in the new world. He tells her that he'll accept her request, but tells her that he lived a life without emotion in his previous life, and on the moment of his death, he was only filled with regret. So this time, he tells her that he wants to live his own life and not as someone else's tool. She tells him that she doesn't give a shit what he does so long as he kills the hero. She points at his head, and as a ball of light shines brightly in his eyes, Alan learns about the magic, technology, and culture of the new world. He also learns about the hero, who he learns will be a valiant man of justice, and asks why he needs to be killed. She tells him that 16 years after his birth, the hero will defeat the demon lord and save the world, but will use his power to plunge the world into chaos thereafter. The goddess summons a disco ball and grants him 5 skills, one from each rank, to help him in his quest. Before choosing, Alan asks a final question, asking if she wants him to save the world, or if she wants him to kill the hero. She tells him that she wants him to save the world, but doesn't think he'll be able to do so without killing the hero. Satisfied with her response, he looks above to choose his skills. For his S-rank ability, Alan chooses Rapid Recovery, and in combination with his B-rank ability, Limitless Growth, he plans on using his endless stamina to max out his abilities in a short amount of time. He chooses Spellweaver for his A-rank ability, which will give him the ability to create his own spells. For his C-rank ability, Alan chooses Martial Arts. And finally, Alan sees a skill that seems to be overpowered as a D-rank ability, and comments that the gods are blind, as Alan's choice remains a mystery. The goddess compliments him for his choices, and tells him it's time for him to go. She tells him that he'll be born into a family of assassins, and tells him that his mother is pretty hot, so she tells him to try and hold back his boner when he feeds on mama's milk. I swear, I didn't make that up. As he flies through the cosmic void, he's grateful that he's been given a second chance, and after completing his mission, he promises himself that he'll find what it truly means to be happy with his new life, starting with mama's milk. As he opens his eyes, he sees his beautiful mother. Wait, not her. He sees his beautiful mother and looks to the side to see his father. Yeah, this one I got right. His father names him Luke and is proud that he has another son he can raise as an assassin, since his first son was assassinated by his mustache.
That doesn't make sense.
Esri tells him that she doesn't want to lose another child, and if he's going to raise another assassin, she begs him to at least shave the hideous worm off his face.
Damn!
Luke gets familiar with his new body, re-perfecting his craft by practicing his headshots with a bow. He also carried over his culinary skills from his previous life, which proves useful to maintain peak physical form with a balanced nutritional diet. Our boy talks about food like he's Gordon Ramsay, narrating his entire thought process in making a rabbit stew. That blows his hot mother's mind, since it's the best she ever had. Luke thinks that he has a perfectly normal family to the untrained eye, but notes that his father has a dark side. Every week, his father calls him to the training room, where he tells his son to strip.
First kata.
What? What the f?
Cyan analyzes every inch of his son's body, keeping track of his physical growth, and making sure he'll have the tools to assassinate all kinds of women. Sorry, I meant all kinds of people. Luke notes that the Tuatha secret runs deep in this world, hiding behind generations of medical knowledge as the family treats nobles during the day, while working behind the shadows at night. Cyan teaches Luke the knowledge passed down for generations, and eventually passes down the family's secret technique, an eye surgery infused with mana that gives the user strengthened eyesight, along with the ability to see mana, while his eyes recover from the surgery. Esri is happy that she can take care of her little boy, and says that it reminds her of when he was a baby. She thinks of a great idea, and asks if he misses the taste of mama's milk. He tries to protest, but she tells him that he doesn't have to say another word, placing her baby bumpers on his face, suffocating him to death, and putting an end to the tale of the world's finest assassin. Just kidding. Luke eventually removes the cloth around his eyes and is impressed with his new assets, able to see extraordinary distances with ease. He also looks to his father and sees the appearance of mana for the first time. Cyan also tells him that he'll finally get a magic tutor. Esri forces Luke to meet his tutor in an outfit that seemingly looks like it was made for the female population. If you're wondering why, it's because sometimes anime likes to do weird shit for no apparent reason, and we accept it, because it keeps us entertained, even though it makes no goddamn sense. His father apparently has no complaints about the cross-dressing situation either, as the two greet Luke's master. She decides to show off her magic, claiming that she is one of the top 5 mages in the Swaigil Kingdom. Daya hands him a far stone, which can store mana, but can also detect the mana capabilities of an individual. Luke pours his mana into the stone, and Daya claims that it doesn't make sense for someone his age to have that much mana. He tells her that he's still got plenty more. The stone begins to crack, and realizing that it'll explode, Daya orders Luke to throw it as far as possible. At night, Daya visits Luke in his room, and tells him that it's past his bedtime. She helps herself to his bed, and tells him that his big sister will sleep with him tonight. He asks her when they became siblings, and she tells him that his parents must be hiding it from him. He asks her what she means, and she tells him that she wants to develop plot with him before he finds out. So she says that she won't say another word. The next day, the two continue Luke's training, and Daya is shocked that Luke has an affinity for all 4 elements. Daya unclips his buttons and places her hand on his chest. She tells him that it's his first time developing plot, so it's important to be guided by an experienced hand. Luke feels his mana take on a color as Daya converts his elemental attributes and etches it into his mana, allowing him to use elemental spells. After an incredible experience, Luke thanks Daya for a wonderful first time. Luke casts his first spell to create copper, and although imperfect, Daya compliments him for being able to materialize matter on his first try. At night, Daya visits him again and tells him that his food is amazing. She tells him that he's amazing at everything he does and asks him if he's also good at developing plot. He tells her that they're underage and tells her that they should wait a few more years so that this anime doesn't get cancelled. In no time at all, Luke is able to conjure a perfect iron square. The two use Luke's spell Weaver ability to create gold, a spell that has never existed until now. They also learn to conjure guns, and Luke takes it another level by whipping out his big black his big black cannon that can store and release a significantly larger amount of his mana. After spending a whole summer together, the two wish they can spend more time together. Lugh conjures a titanium alloy knife, telling her that it's the strongest metal in this world. And through their training, Lugh was able to invent the material. He tells her it's a present, thanking her for being an incredible mentor. Daya hands him a far stone necklace infused with her own mana and tells him to make her a promise that he'll come visit her often. The next day, the two say their farewells, and Cyan compliments Lugh for his incredible magical growth. He tells him that he'll reveal the dark truth about their family. In order to become the masters of their assassination and medical techniques, Cyan reveals that the kingdom sends death row criminals to the family so that they can practice on real people. However, Cyan tells him that the Tuatha family aren't tools controlled by the nation. Rather, they are men of justice who have the right to decide if taking a life will be for the betterment of society. He leads Lugh into a room where he sees a girl tied on a chair. Cyan releases the gag from the criminal's mouth, and the little girl immediately begs for her life. Cyan reveals that her crimes are armed robbery, murder, and arson, but the girl claims that it all wasn't on purpose. Cyan continues, saying that she was seen by an elderly couple while robbing an empty home, and didn't hesitate to put them down. But the girl says that she was starving and panicked in the situation when the couple tried to restrain her. Cyan allows Lugh to make the decision, and despite her desperate plea, Lugh doesn't hesitate to slice through her left hand. She reveals her true colors, shouting that she'll make him pay, and claiming that he'll be eaten by demons one day. He tells her that she'll die peacefully by losing consciousness before she feels any pain. The next day, Lugh is with his family in town when he begins to search for an ally. Lugh recognizes that having strong friends would be helpful to take down the hero, but finds it difficult since not many are born with mana. One day, Lugh goes hunting in the woods when he sees a little girl and saves her just in time. He materializes a titanium alloy gauntlet and recognizes that this is a good opportunity for some combat practice. He takes out the first with a clean hit to the spine and takes out the second with a direct stab to the head. He easily removes the threat and shifts his attention to the girl. He feeds her and carefully thinks about the best way to brainwash her before taking any action. From the beginning, he recognized that the girl is gifted with mana, so he manipulates her and eventually convinces her to become his assistant. 2 years pass, and Tart has grown a healthy pair of baby bumpers. She tells him to wake up or tells him that she'll be forced to do the dirty. But this is a family-friendly anime, so he wakes up before plot can develop. He tells her that he had a dream of their first meeting, and she tells him that she's embarrassed of that time, when she used to be a thin girl. He tells her that she was definitely thin, and didn't think she'd grow to become such a beautiful girl. His riz is on point today, causing Tart to blush as she tells him that she'll go make breakfast. Tart has proven to be a great servant, and Cyan even compliments her for being able to satisfy his son, not only as a servant, but also with his work. She thanks him and tells him that her heart, body, and life all belong to Lugh.
Perfect.
In the training room, Lugh commands Tart to strip. In the same fashion as his father, Lugh analyzes every inch of his servant's body, keeping track of her physical growth and making sure she'll have the tools to assassinate all kinds of men. The two train every day, but Lugh recognizes that Tart is weak with a dagger. She has shown some proficiency with a spear, but Lugh realizes that the spear isn't a tool useful for assassins. Instead of forcing a lost cause, he comes up with a clever solution by solving the concealment issue of a spear, allowing her to play to her strengths. The next day, she tells him to wake up, or tells him that she'll be forced to do the dirty. But this is a family-friendly anime, so he wakes up before plot can develop. Shit. This is a family-friendly anime, so they just cuddle and Tart slides him a pillow. Later, Cyan gives his son a special test before becoming a full-fledged assassin. The test is to have a duel between the two, and whether he wins or not, Cyan will determine if he's ready to be a real assassin. The duel begins in the shadows of the forest, and Lugh recognizes that whoever finds their opponent first will have the advantage. Cyan takes the advantage and forces Lugh to abandon his cover. Lugh calculates the trajectory of the arrows and is able to turn the tide of battle. Cyan gains the upper hand once again by breaking Lugh's leg, but Lugh finds cover and heals the broken bone. Cyan catches him off guard, but Lugh is able to dodge. Cyan is a master of the human anatomy, and even without using mana detection, he is able to accurately read the movements of his opponents. but Lug recognizes he has the same ability. He closes his eyes and senses the bloodlust coming from his left as he dodges the dagger by the skin of his teeth. Cyan knows that Lug responds to attacks from the left easily, so Lug recognizes that the first dagger was a decoy, as another comes from his right. But he also knows that Cyan knows what he knows, and inceptions this shit to the third attack. Cyan lands his attack, but barely, since Lug's counter-attack is a critical blow, ending the duel with Lug's victory. As a final test before becoming a full-fledged assassin, Cyan instructs Lug to become a merchant and build a reputable second identity. Cyan tells him that it's important for an assassin to have multiple identities for his jobs. Cyan instructs Lug to train for 2 years in the merchant town of Miltew under Balor, a known associate of Cyan and a successful merchant operating the Balor Trading Company. Before his departure, the Tuatha De House all gather to celebrate Lug's crowning as the next head of the family. Rana, who is supposed to be next in line, claims that he will not bow down to a 12-year-old and demands a duel for the crown. Lug accepts, and as soon as the battle starts, Lug threatens a lethal posture, ending the duel on the spot. Rana says he didn't surrender and tries to throw a punch, but Lug easily counters. Cyan announces that his son is a genius whose medical and assassination skills exceed his own, as everyone praises Lug. Later, Rana acknowledges Lug's strength, and the two reconcile their differences as Rana confirms that he'll support Lug in the future. The next morning, Cyan and Esris say their farewells to their son, as Lug and Tart head out on their journey to the town of Miltew. When they arrive, Lug changes his hair color to black, fully assuming his fake identity as Illig Balor, son of Balor, and a merchant with the Balor Trading Company. Elsewhere, we meet Maha, an orphan girl who lives in the streets of Miltew. She has other orphan friends, and despite being homeless, the girls are all happy that they have each other. One day, the girls are attacked by a bunch of thugs, and despite Maha's best efforts as a mana user, the girls are overpowered by the men and are carriaged away. They are sent to an orphanage run by Torin, who kidnapped the children out of the goodness of his heart. He thanks Lloyd for his good work, who punches one of the girls, as Torin states that disobedience will not be tolerated. The girls are forced into labor without pay, and are treated no better than farm animals. But despite the harsh conditions, the girls are happy that they have each other. However, the happiness quickly fleets away when the girls find out the real reason why they're here. Ifa and Maha are called out, and Lloyd commands Ifa to strip. He douses her in water and orders Maha to wash her clean. Maha then helps her turn all pretty when Torin comes in, telling Ifa that it's time to leave. Maha watches Ifa get carriaged off and wonders all night if she's okay. She hears her come back at dawn and sees her by the door, crying helplessly with her lipstick stained across her cheeks, before she dashes out. Maha finds her in the barn, and Ifa shouts not to look as her tears continue to flood down her face. Every night, Ifa is called out of the comforts of their home and is sent to sing a bedtime song for the old men who pay for her services. And after all of Torin's clients had their turn, Torin himself takes his turn. One by one, as the girls get older, each are stained with the same fate, as Maha watches on as her older friends slowly lose their minds. Noin goes as far as unequipping her own beauty, hoping that none of the old men would want her to sing lullabies anymore. Soon after, Maha comes of age, and she catches the demons talk about sending her out to sing lullabies. Maha runs for her life, and finds the same knife that Noin used that one time, seeing how effective it was for her when she unequipped her beauty. But before she can act, she hears someone tell her that tears don't suit her. She looks back, and sees a prince, who tells her that she'd look cuter if she smiled. Illig meets with Torin, who presents all the girls, and tells him that he can choose whoever he wants. He places his hand out to Maha, and tells her that he wants her to work for him. She is hesitant, but he grabs her hand, and tells Torin that he's claiming this girl. Torin tells him that he'll need to wait until the merchandise is prepped, and asks for 3 days to get her fully ready. Maha, knowing his intentions, tries to call for help, but is shut down by Torin's psychologically powerful glare. But Illig is the world's finest assassin, sensing her plea, and telling Torin that since he already paid for her, Maha is officially a part of his family, and he doesn't take kindly to people who do bad things to his family. But despite that fact, Maha is prepped to sing her first bedtime song, and Torin tells her that he has a regular who's been waiting to hear Maha's bedtime song for a very long time. He tells her that he'll enjoy her bedtime song himself for the next 2 days after that. Maha realizes that she can't go through with it, so she activates her mana and dashes out of the carriage. She runs as far as she can, but Lloyd stops her in her tracks. She pleads him to let her go, and he tells her that he will if she sings her bedtime song for him just one time. Suddenly, Illig appears from behind and tells Lloyd again that he hates when bad things happen to his family. Illig points a knife at Torin's throat and tells him that his gig is up, claiming that he reported sufficient evidence to the officials of his crimes. Torin's clients were reported too, as we witnessed Tart juking the guy, who was expecting Maha's bedtime song tonight. Illig uses his magic to fix Noin's face and also provides a home for Maha's friends. Later, Illig speaks with Balor and officially adopts Maha into the Balor family. 6 months pass since Lug's arrival at Miltew, and occasionally, Maha and Tart visit Illig in his bedroom at night, just to have a sleepover with him whenever they feel lonely.
Good one.
Illig eventually gets the idea to start a moisturizer business, realizing that this world still hasn't invented it. The noble women are immediately infatuated with Illig and his product, since the healing properties to dry skin are not a farce, and the softness can be felt the moment the moisturizer is applied. Illig uses his successful product to open a subsidiary to the Balor trading company called Orna, and the business is an instant hit, so much so that others try to infiltrate his home, hoping they can find the secret ingredients to make a moisturizer. But Illig hasn't been keeping 2 hot girls around just to have sleepover parties. He watches as they use the torturing techniques he taught his girls, and Illig can't be more happier that he's found 2 great disciples, as he watches them torture the man in the most efficient means possible. Once a month, Maha and Tart are extremely sad when they have to spend a day without their prince. He spends 1 day a month to visit Daya. They continue to create new spells together, all the while growing their romantic feelings for each other. One day, Maha, Tart, and Lug have another one of their sleepovers, and the 2 girls greet Illig in the morning as per usual. But after the girls sniff, Illig realizes that the world's finest assassin has been defeated by his new teenager body, having a wet dream when his 2 girls were sleeping by his side. He explains the scientific explanation to the strange phenomenon, but is cut off by Tart, who tells him that she is his servant, and is more than capable of taking care of this issue for him. Maha then says that they're brother and sister on paper, but since they're not related by blood, she tells him that she doesn't mind taking the role as his lover as well. 2 years pass, and after completing all that he set out to do in Miltew, Lug leaves his Illig identity behind, and leaves Maha to operate his business while he and Tart set sights for home. On their way back, monsters attack, so Tart requests to take the opportunity to test her training. Lug quietly watches her and thinks that her movements are good and compliments her combat improvements. When he arrives, Esri is the first to greet him, telling her son that she missed his scent and that she won't let go until her nose takes another few whiffs of his smell. Lug heads for the study, where his father greets him as an adult. He's heard of his endeavors in Miltew and says that there isn't a noble who hasn't heard of Illig Balor's cosmetic brand, Orna. Cyan reveals the true meaning of the final test and tells Lug that he must make a decision. Cyan gives Lug the choice of abandoning his duties as an assassin and living a life as a normal person. After experiencing what being normal really means, he tells him that he's smart enough to become anything he wants, telling him that the job of an assassin is a thankless job. Cyan explains that an assassin may never fail, and if he ever does, he'll be discarded by the kingdom to cover up any loose ends. But Lug's resolve is clear, telling his father that he must protect the people he's grown to love, and tells him that there is something that he can only do as a Tuatha Dé noble. We know that he must fulfill his end of the bargain with the goddess, but he gives another reason, and tells Cyan that he wishes to marry Daya, which is certainly not a lie in its own right, since Lug has grown strong feelings for her. Cyan calls his son stupid, but accepts his resolve and hands him his first independent assignment. The noble in question sells military secrets to neighboring kingdoms in exchange for drugs, which he distributes throughout the kingdom. Lug decides to confirm the reports himself and investigate the situation tomorrow. The next morning, Esri watches her son sleep, chanting that she's excited for what's to come. Lug wakes up and asks her what she wants so early in the morning. She takes a look at the center of his comforter and is sad to see that he didn't wet the bed today. He asks her if Tart told her about the darkest moment of his life, and she tells him that she left nothing out. She tells him to let her know when he wets the bed again. Tart walks in, and Lug tells her that they need to have a serious discussion. She tells him that they can chat while she helps him change, but his mom doesn't leave, telling him that she wants to see how much his magic stick has grown. He tells her that she doesn't need to see that, as he pushes her out. Later, Esri shows Luke pictures of noble girls and asks if any stand out, hoping he'll take one of them in marriage. Tart says that Luke is too young, but Esri tells her that she wants grandchildren before she gets old. Tart tells her that she'll be forever young, but Esri says that flattery won't work, and asks her if she'll have his babies instead. Tart quickly responds that she will without giving it a thought, and realizes what she just said. Esri says that's great, and tells them that they should immediately start trying to pop one out soon. Tart says that she doesn't mind if that's what Luke wants too, but Luke tells his mother to stop teasing Tart. Esri says that she's dead serious, and asks why Luke is talking so firmly to her all of a sudden. He tells her that he's an adult now, but Esri tells him that she wants her baby boy back. Luke and Tart spend the day investigating the drug problem in the streets, and come across a little girl, who seems desperate to get a hold of the drugs. He follows her home, and sees the addiction firsthand, realizing that the issue is worse than he imagined. He then decides to investigate the Vencor Manor, the noble house responsible for the drug problem, and Luke's target for his job. He brings Maha with him under his disguise as Illig Balor to attend a meeting hosted by the Vencor family. Luke uses his product launch of a new moisturizer to get an invitation from Count Vencor's wife. After meeting with both the Count and his wife, Luke determines that the Count went to extreme lengths to become a wealthy noble, all for the sake of his wife, whom he loves dearly. They were poor nobles not too long ago, and his wife wanted things that he couldn't afford, so he signed his soul to the devil, and began to move drugs all across the nation. But despite that, Luke determines that the damage he caused the people of Alvin is irreversible, and the evil that he has brought to the country, all for the sake of love, are more a reason to consider him a dangerous man. After completing his first mission, Luke continues to watch on as he sees a widow of his making break down into tears before his very eyes. He hopes to etch this moment in his memory so that he can truly feel the weight of taking a life, a responsibility he completely ignored in his previous life. Tart wraps her hands around his head, sensing his pain, and telling him that she's right here by his side. Some time later, Luke and Tart are caught surfing the waves, as Tart tells him that she enjoyed living in an uninhabited island together with him, and that she wishes they could have stayed longer. Maha is waiting for them to arrive on the mainland. She asks him how it went, and he tells her that the island was the perfect place to practice their magic, hinting that they have been working on a secret weapon. On their way back, Maha hands Luke a report, telling him that she found the divine treasure he requested her to look into. Gabolg is a magic spear, currently owned by a man named Setanta Makness. Luke hopes to get his hands on the powerful weapon, but unfortunately for him, Maha also tells him that Setanta may be the hero he's been searching for. She also informs him that a civil war broke out in the neighboring kingdom of Swoigel, and Daya's family, House Vicon, has joined the Swoigel king's army. Luke visits Daya, hoping that she's okay, and sure enough, Daya greets him with a smile. She asks why he came without notice, and asks him if he missed her that much. He senses that something is off, so he asks her if she's doing okay despite the war. But she tells him that the war is far from her mansion, and that he doesn't need to be concerned. She tells him that House Vicon has the best mages in the kingdom, and that there's nothing to worry about. He tells her that he could use his Balor identity to help her family escape to a safe kingdom. But she tells him that she can't leave. As the heir to House Vicon, it is her responsibility to protect the Swoigel kingdom, the land, and its people. She tells him to not worry, and instead, she asks him to go on a date. The two hold hands while taking a stroll in town, and enjoy the cuisine that Luke describes to be on par with Italy from his previous life. Luke also teaches her how to shoot a bow, as she is able to win the doll after her third shot. At dusk, the two get to the most famous attraction in the city, which is a hot spring where males and females bathe together. Luke notes that in this world, seeing each other without plot armor is a more common practice compared to his previous life. She tells him to hurry up and grabs his hand as she rushes him to the pool. As they lay next to each other holding hands, Daya tells him that she loves her town and the people who live in it, so she tells him that she'll do everything she can to serve in their best interest to the very end. She apologizes to him and tells him that no matter what happens, she won't leave her people behind. He tells her he understands, but if she ever needs help, he tells her that he'll be there by her side. She thanks him as the two sink into the water, holding hands as they share their first kiss. Before he leaves, Daya thanks him for an amazing date and tells him that she had fun. But she tells him that she'll be busy for a while and that she'll let him know when they can see each other again. He tells her that he'll be waiting as he walks into the distance. Daya then tells everyone that it's over as the townsfolk gear up and kneel down for their princess. Daya whispers, "Goodbye, Lug," while shedding a tear. When he gets home, Lug finds out that the Swoigel kingdom were already defeated when he was with Daya, and the rebels are currently moving their forces to lay siege on Vicone Castle, hoping to capture the beautiful Daya, who has strong magical genes and is likely to produce a powerful offspring. Count Vicone, Daya's father and Cyan's close friend, intends on giving in to their demands, and Daya has already accepted to be married off to avoid further bloodshed. However, House Vicone's vassals are not allowing Daya to be sold off, barricading the mansion and cutting down anyone who gets close. Consequently, the Vicone family has been accused of starting a counter-rebellion. Both Cyan and Count Vicone believe that the most likely outcome will be the death of the entire Vicone family, and thus Cyan gives Lug another mission, but this time it is to fake the assassination of Daya so that no traces will be left behind, and Daya can live a new life under a new identity. Without hesitation, Lug accepts the mission, and Cyan sees the same fire within his son that drove him long ago when he acted for the sake of love. Mingling in a neighboring country's affairs and acting off personal feelings goes against the Tuatha De way. But Cyan reveals that he too made the decision to drop his values once before, for Esri's sake, who Cyan reveals is a daughter of House Vicone. Cyan officially reveals that Daya is his cousin, claiming that the silver hair is genetic, and the world's finest assassin is somehow completely shocked at the revelation. But nothing really changes here, since love is thicker than blood in anime. Tart is also driven by love, and despite the fact Lug will run from her to another girl, Tart decides to run for him, using her magic to shield him from wind resistance, so that Lug can conserve his energy for the upcoming fight. Despite the harsh conditions and the sheer distance, Tart gives it her all and guides him the entire way, just a couple miles outside of the Vicone castle, until she can't go any further. She asks him if he loves Daya, and he tells her that he does without any hesitation, while Tart's legs twitch uncontrollably from exhaustion. She puts on her best smile anyways, and tells him to come back safely together with her. He tells her that he will, and without even a glance back at Tart, heads towards Daya as Tart watches him disappear in the distance. She cries profusely, realizing now that this is the extent to their relationship, and that she'll never have his heart. Lug gets to the battlefront and begins to pick off the enemy, beginning with the strongest mana users. Lug draws the enemy's attention from behind and creates chaos with his pseudo-grenade launchers, allowing Vicone's forces to counterattack. Lug infiltrates the castle and reunites with his cousin, and reunites with his lover. The Count introduces himself and says, "Hey, better him than a 70-year-old rich man."
Are you sure about that?
The two agree that they'll set the room on fire in order to fake Daya's death, but before they can put their plan to motion, a man with the divine treasure appears and launches a devastating attack at the castle. Lug barely negates the attack with his far stone. Lug sees the incredible amount of mana on the guy, so he doesn't hesitate to summon his big black cannon, landing a direct hit on the threat. His attack was effective, but Setanta has Berserk, an S-rank ability that triggers through anger and increases all stats, in addition to activating rapid regeneration. Setanta seems to be a brute who enjoys the thrill of battle, since he shouts to have a duel with Lug, claiming that he'll withdraw the rebellion forces if he loses. Lug knows he'll lose in a straight-up duel, so Daya begs him not to accept. But Lug summons a warhead and tells her that he's the world's finest assassin and that he'll assassinate his enemy today. He sends the warhead to the exosphere, and despite the fact that he knows he can't assassinate the hero until his 16th birthday, Lug abandons his deal with the goddess and commits to assassinating the enemy before him for the sake of love. Elsewhere, the goddess watches on as we catch her with a villainous smile. Lug explains that his ultimate weapon, Rods from God, was conceived from his previous life, when the US government designed plans of a satellite weapon during the Cold War, using kinetic energy to maximize the destructive power of a projectile. Lug counts down from 400 seconds, knowing exactly the time it will take for his missile to land, since he practiced it many times on the abandoned island with Tart. He takes his sweet time to approach Setanta, knowing he probably won't last 10 seconds when the battle starts. 126 seconds left, so Lug vomits a bunch of sentences, buying the crucial amount of time he needs, and finally, when Setanta's patience runs out, Lug buys the rest of the time, by telling him that they'll start the duel when the coin hits the floor. He flips it up, and times it to the T. 7, 6, 5. Lug is no knight, so he'll make certain that this battle has no glory. Lugh wakes up to Daya's voice as she embraces him tightly. She thanks him for being her prince, and he tells her that he promised that he'll be there when she needed him the most. And in this moment, Lugh sinks deep into the emotion he has been longing for 2 lifetimes, realizing that this is what it truly means to be human, what it truly means to live a happy life. Elsewhere, Alvin Kingdom officials welcome the arrival of Lord Epona, the one who will defeat the Demon Lord, the hero of this world. What a legend for making it to the end. See you in this next video.